Hello and welcome back to the Clicker Cast. We are here following HBO's The Last of Us, Season 2, Episode 5 this time. Boy, what an episode. I am once again joined by Ballistic and Shotty. As always, my lovely little co-host here. Could not do it without him. So, how we doing? How we feeling? What's good?
A lot to talk about.
Yeah, we do.
A lot to kind of break down.
Yeah.
Because there was a lot of mixed feelings about this episode that I read through.
Yeah.
A lot.
This was also the first time that Ballistic and I did not watch the show together.
No, we did not.
Which is really weird watching it at home.
This is the first time I'm actually going into this blind.
Yeah.
Not knowing Artie's actual thoughts.
Yeah, because usually we talk about it like right after the episode ends or like during it. We're like, oh, this and this and this. We found this and this. And it's like, no.
Yeah.
Nope.
So this is like, I'm actually excited for this. This is a different take.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting.
Not knowing what anybody thinks. Like, we do not discuss this outside of here.
Nope.
Like, we may have little cliff notes, whatever, that we kind of pass along. That's it.
I have a lot of notes this time. A lot.
Oh, this is where the fun begins.
Listen. I try to be thorough. I want to make sure that I get at least every scene, like something, you know.
You gotta be thorough. I mean, we need something to debate and discuss.
I'm trying.
Which I know we're going to have.
Yes.
I have a feeling we're going to have that today.
I definitely think so. Well, okay, so let's just get into it. Of course, spoiler warning as always. If you haven't seen the episode, go fucking watch it and then come back. Then you can talk to us about it. Okay, so starting off, we are in this hospital.
Looks familiar.
Looks a little familiar, perhaps. Yeah. And we are greeted with this conversation between two people. I don't know their names, to be honest. So
second in command.
They were chatting about stuff, you know.
Stuff and things.
Yeah, those people talking about stuff. And they were talking essentially about how Elise.
Yep.
Good for her.
And talking about a guy named Leon.
Yes, I knew Leon. Elise, I don't know. But yes, so we have this conversation between these two individuals, and they're essentially talking about how they had to entirely close off part of the hospital, which is a huge loss because that is one of their biggest resource points. Which, obviously, it's a massive hospital.
Yeah, same thing in the game too. It was like a massive, like, obviously where a lot of their medical supplies were.
Yep.
But it was like a main holdout. It was a big building in the middle of the city.
Yeah. And one thing they mentioned was the basement was just absolutely destroyed.
Yeah.
It was full of cordyceps, and we finally saw spores for the first time.
I love the way they did it.
Yes.
I fucking love it.
Yes.
It was so cinematic. Oh wait, we're not there yet.
But I love the your point.
They did it.
I love the fact that they hold off on the spores. Part of it.
It makes
it makes sense. It makes sense.
Absolutely.
Even like the fact, like even canonically, they could have had the spores. Like obviously the spores were there at some point in time before, but like it helps with the evolution that they're trying to come across of the infection. So I like leaving the spores to later on.
It's the final form. Like how do fungi, spread?
Yeah.
Well,
they go through their whole process and then they release their spores into the air.
Well, it also makes a lot of sense that spores are only contained.
Very confined spaces.
Yes. Like, it makes sense that it's not like, oh, hey, we're in this big open building in the middle of Seattle, and there's spores just somehow in the air. Like, it makes sense that it is in a entirely confined basement.
Closed off medical like we'll get into that later.
Makes total sense. It
actually makes more sense in the show to me.
Yeah.
Because of the way they did it. And I love the fact that they have no fucking clue what spores do or are.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, how
I
they
love
work.
that it's a
Yeah.
surprise.
Yeah.
Because they're not prepared.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing, I don't know if they say something, but I feel like it's implied that was kind of the ground zero for the outbreak in Seattle.
Yes, it was. It was mentioned in the game as well.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, because like I think I like that too. The fact that it's their
Patient zero. Yep.
Their ground zero is at a place that should provide care.
Right.
And I also like that in the contextually with the care that Nora gives, even though she's dealt out a lot of hurt as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I like that kind of thematically as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
absolutely.
So yeah, we had this whole basement where I believe, I don't know if it was Elise or it was the other person, but their son, Leon, is the one who has come in contact with these spores.
Yep.
And they had to make the very difficult decision to lock him in there and contain him.
So, and this is an interesting point that got brought up in the Last of Us original podcast. If you haven't, go watch it or go listen to it on Spotify. It's fantastic.
I didn't get a chance this week. Don't crucify me.
So, but they brought up a very good parallel. Hanrahan, I'm looking it up. That's the name.
Yeah.
Hanrahan.
Yep.
And she may have had to make a very, very similar decision that somebody else that we know had to make. That being Joel. And she made the hard decision. She didn't go to save her son.
Yeah.
She locked him there. What did Joel do?
Left Tess in that museum.
No. He saved Ellie.
Well, and the fact
his
that
surrogate child, he saw her as a daughter at that point in time.
And the fact of the parallel, the fact that even though you can make the argument of like, oh well, they like that was just killing their child. You're saving how many people by not exposing
you
those
sacrifice
people.
One to save the many. Technically, what Joel did was he saved himself.
It's the trolley problem, right? It's very much like would you change the train tracks if there's certain,
And just real quick tangent on, like in my opinion, still I mentioned this during last season as well. I still think Joel didn't save Ellie; he saved himself.
Oh yeah, it was a selfish act.
I think it was I still think it's an extremely selfish act of what he did.
Yeah, of course.
Granted, do we all love Joel? Hell yes, I love Joel.
Yeah, of course.
I love Troy Baker, who is the voice of Joel, and I love Pedro Pascal.
That's because they put
Always.
a lot into those characters, right? Like they make you sympathize with those characters, which to this fact, and I feel like that. I'll get into it later, I guess, is what I'm gonna say, because I don't want to get ahead of myself. But yeah,
it's late, guys. Give us a break.
Yeah. So there was an interesting piece of dialogue in this first scene that we see. And they say that everything in the basement is gone, even the rats. And if you played part 2 all the way through, you know that is a nod to the Rat King.
This abomination of a creature.
Yes.
And I think Druckmann and or Mason fubbed up in their podcast because they gave up a little spoiler.
Did they?
Yes, a little bit. I don't know if it was intentional or not, but I think it was Mason said, because they brought up the same thing with the Rat King. Maybe be a creature that you'll see next season.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which I think that's pretty obvious.
I think that makes sense because I think we only saw it with Abby, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that makes total sense. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, my parallel theory that I thought they were gonna do. Yeah, I was way fucking wrong.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a good point of what could have happened. In
sure.
that way. Like, I don't think it was a bad read at all.
No, it's hard to gauge like where it's going at this point. Like I think we know obviously.
Like I said, I've given up on. Yeah. I'm going into this as a viewer.
Yep.
I'm done guessing. I have my antics of what's happening. That's it.
It's almost like they're playing the hits, but also they're playing like the not so hits, which is weird. But they're skipping things that are, I think, a little bit of hits. Like, oh, you want to see this, but it's like, I don't know. I feel this a certain way about
again. There's so much more restricted with how they make things in shows than they are with games. Games, you have endless limitations. I agree. Because
absolutely.
You are able to create this digital world where you have infinite amount of space. I mean, given obviously a little techie, creative, all that bullshit. But you have this infinite world that you could build whatever the fuck you want to do, and so people who are hard comparing, like I've done massively. I'm moving away from doing that.
I think for me, like I very much am, and I think I've said this before, like I'm not a person who's like, oh, this adaptation has to be 1-for-1. I love The Last of Us Part 1, the season 1, because I think they adapted it, but it was more of a companion piece than anything. Whereas I feel like here overall, I feel like the feelings are just not there. And what you're supposed to, at least from the game and the themes of the game, are not coming through here. And I think in some ways, like a tad more, in some ways not really. I think Ellie is a great example of the way where I think it's not really coming through, because I feel like the revenge aspect for her has kind of gone by the wayside. I think what works in the game, and why that part works, is the fact that we're with her. It's the same thing with Joel. We are with her even though she's committing bad acts and she's going over for selfish reasons, right? Where I think like they're really giving that to other characters here. I don't feel Ellie's motivation anymore, but I do feel Dina's motivation, right? Like I do feel, as we get into later, like I feel like different characters are like, oh yeah, this is what I want to do, and it's like I just feel that it's so muddied.
I think
if you're trying to adapt,
we'll get into this later when we get to the certain part of the episode, but I will have to disagree with you on that.
Okay.
I think the revenge aspect is 100% still there, and we'll get into that later.
Okay. Yeah. Good. Love the discourse. So we have this
agreement.
So we have this cold open in the hospital. Spores, Rat King mention, all that good stuff. And then I dropped my pen. Cool.
Behind the scenes.
Cool. Title. There we go. Boom, we're in. And we are greeted with Ellie, day 2 in Seattle. Where we have Dina listening to the radio to map out all of the soldiers' locations, any kind of blind spots, anything they can get to get as close as they can.
Yep.
Essentially.
Triangulation is what she's doing.
Triangulation, exactly. Yes. And we find out she's pretty good at it.
Yeah, pretty fucking smart.
She did it. She did it.
I like how they've been making Dina.
Yeah.
More.
Yeah, they're characterizing her more.
Definitely.
Very much so. Like she's extremely. She's extremely smart.
Yes.
And the way she goes about things, which is a great parallel and opposition to Ellie.
Yeah.
Who does not plan, but who is forceful and violent.
Yes.
Dina is more tactical and, careful about what she does. Very meticulous about the way she goes at things.
Yeah.
So I think like this showing is a very good parallel, like how we're like now seeing Dina doing all this triangulation on finding a pinpoint just by listening to where they're chattering on the radio stations.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
Absolutely love it.
And it definitely makes Dina less of a, Not that she'd say that she's fully like a damsel in the game, but I think it gives more to her character to be like the motivations behind
that.
Yeah, because I think Dina in the second game was Ellie in the first game.
Yeah.
Same kind of like character like parallel almost, because you needed a follower, you needed something because you're always with somebody. Well, Ellie as a main character, technically, as Dina is in the second one, is a background character, because you don't really interact with Ellie in the first game until certain parts of that game, being left behind, and like little minis throughout that.
Yeah, I like that they're giving her more of a motivation to be there. I think that's ultimately, unfortunately, going to be at expense of the theming overall for Ellie, at least. I think it's still there. Obviously, like Dina has it, but I think that it makes Ellie be put to the wayside when she's really the motivator for all of it. And when we get to a certain point in the game, right, like how are we going to commiserate that and her having those feelings, like Dina having those feelings? Still, you know?
Yeah, I would agree. So we have Dina triangulating, and we get the scene that Shotty's been waiting for with Future Days.
No, it's not though. It's not though. And
it's
let me
start,
tell you,
though.
Let me tell you so hard when they teased it. I'm like, you bitch.
It was a start. Teaser for sure. Teaser, but
we're getting it next episode.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like if we don't get it next episode, we're not getting it.
No, hell no.
So what I think it boils down to the root of why I'm not really a fan of this adaptation. Is I feel like they're very much being like, oh, like, you know, like, oh, look at that. And it's another like a point why I have conflicting feelings about Star Wars right now. Is it just like, oh, look, Skywalker, okay, you know that, you know, shin dangly thing. I think, and I was talking to my partner about this, and I know it could be also construed in that way, but I almost wonder if it would have hit for me a little better is if we did a little bit of the ending scene, like the waking up scene, and put a little Joel cut in there. Like not only just the fact that if we're gonna do this, if we're truly gonna be like, ooh, Future Days, let's do it in a way that's just like she grips the guitar and then it's just like a flash of Joel, like just like there, and it's just like, oh yeah, like I remember why I'm here. And I think that would do a lot in the way of like, if we are really gonna do show or tell don't show, or show don't tell rather, let's do it, let's commit to it. And I think that would hit where it's just like, oh yeah, like reminder while we're here, because I think at this point Ellie is at a point where it's not that the revenge is gone, but it feels like it's subsided. You know, it's like, oh, I've got a family to protect now, and oh, I've got, you know, like these little things, and it feels like Dina is the motivator at this point. Like, and we'll get to it in a little bit about there's a certain part that I think that she has to be convinced, like Ellie has to be the one who's convinced of this, not Dina. I'd love to hear your thoughts.
So my thing with that is I think they're portraying Ellie at a certain point where she's progressing through her internal forgiveness for not only herself but for Joel that she never gave him.
Okay.
She only was able to play the very beginning. Why stop? Why not try to continue?
Right.
It's because she's not ready to. She doesn't feel she is ready.
I agree.
She doesn't feel she is worth being able to play that song.
Yeah.
Which to me, I think is done a little bit better for a mental standing on this show, because now you're seeing her progress through this level of grief that not a lot of people could say they've gone through.
Yeah.
She never forgave him.
Right.
Which now in turn she can't forgive herself.
Yeah.
That's
so
his song. Why she doesn't feel like she deserves to play that song, so she starts and then stops.
So
and
I
then
wonder,
she grieves more.
I wonder in that point, editing wise, if you would just go back to the scene, like cut quick to the scene of her staring at him at the porch. It would be thematically like, oh yeah, like just like, like just enough to where it's like it addresses that, because I think the audience doesn't know Future Days, right? Like, so it's just oh, I'm just learning guitar. So I think, and then it's like saving that for the next episode, right?
Okay.
Let's get a little, like, if we're gonna do that little jolt there, let's do it. And I think that it also ties into a little bit at the end of the episode, where I think that they're trying to do that, but they do it so terribly, in my opinion. But,
okay.
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can see what you're saying though. Like, I think that it does play the grief. I just don't feel like at least for me, it doesn't feel that way. Like, even though I know that, like the whole synopsis of the game and, everything.
Right.
I just didn't get that from the performance. Not the performance, but the writing of it all.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, that's fair. Absolutely. Moving on. From the lackluster Future Days scene, which who knows what'll happen. We'll see. We have this scene where Dina kind of compares the scars to the Amish. Because she can't figure out why they're broadcasting all their moves. Just to be like out there for anyone to find.
Right.
And it seems to work as far as we know, but obviously they were able to find it. So not that well. But regardless.
And in the behind the scenes Ballistic, I think the director says something about like them being a little bit more luditic, and being more in like the WLF knows how primitive they are. And like I wonder other things that informs for them, in terms of interrogation tactics, in terms of like, obviously they know that they don't have much. I think what's interesting there is they don't have much to barter with in an interrogation. Like, it's just the all mother, right?
Right.
So I wonder how much of that informs other things in there.
They that's for your extremist ones too, because you gotta think of it. So, spoiler to those of you who don't know, I have side notes that I stare at and go through. But I read this interesting little clip about the since you brought scars.
Sure.
They're saying, what if? Oh no, that was in that thing you had me read, that comment.
Yeah.
Sorry, not from what I read. It's from a comment that one of you guys left. Thank you, by the way. It gives us talking points.
Yeah. Paragraphs. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching. I appreciate it.
Thank you to KKJHN41.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching and actually listening to us. It's really cool.
But yeah, you brought up a very good point that they saw the bodies of the Seraphites on their way to Seattle, still very far away from Seattle. That what if there's more of an internal war within the Seraphites, along with now the war with the scars? Because we're thinking it's the WLF that kills them. You, John, bring up that it's the extremist scars, that they are the demons. Because according to everything we've heard from the scar that got interrogated by Isaac, said the apostates, what the hell is the other one?
Well, it's like a lot of religions split off into denominations, right? And they each have their own way of doing it, and then they I think it's interesting that they use specifically the Amish Because like you have Amish and you have like the Mennonite, who are like kind of like the split off. So I think that they're also hinting that way, that there are people who kind of believe a little different,
Yeah,
absolutely. So moving into the Seattle travel, traveling, I guess we should say. They're already in Seattle.
They're traveling through the downtown area.
They're getting places. Yeah.
They're going on the I-94.
Ellie and Dina are beginning their trek to the hospital.
Mm-hmm.
Where did I leave off? I don't know. It's somewhere in this page. And they stumble across another one of those feel her love signs. With a bunch of dead individuals right underneath it. Which, not great. But, what the fuck is wrong with Seattle, right?
Mm.
So, they carry on, and what are you gonna do? Nothing.
Yeah.
And then, yes.
I just want to say quickly with this, I think they should do more of this, and then rather than, so this is the Seraphites, and this is who they are, and this is what they're about. Like, I feel like my biggest, and I think I said this before, but like I feel like my biggest issue with this show is it's very much like in your face about, okay, we want to make sure you get all of this. Like with Abby, it's like we want to make sure that you know everything about Abby before,
right?
And it's like a murder mystery plot where you're just like, okay, so here's the killer, and like it. I feel like you don't hit that mystery, and that's a part of like the tension of the overall game as well.
Yeah,
and I feel like you're not getting that.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
That build. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So they are moving past that, still traveling.
Did you see what they wrote, what was written under "Feel Her Love"? No. And the bodies that were underneath? The bodies underneath weren't WLF; they were scars.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
And under the "Feel Her Love," it said "Feel this bitch."
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay. I did
like
not
just the
remember that, but yeah.
Oh. Yeah, underneath that message of "Feel Her Love," with the pile of dead Seraphites, was written in blood again, "Feel this bitch."
Yeah. So I very well could have been writing this down. And missed that, to be honest. But listen, I have a lot of shit in here, man.
No, you're good. I waited this time until we moved
that's
past
good.
it.
I appreciate it. Yeah.
Last time I was saying shit, like, I'm gonna get to it.
Yeah. No, I was not gonna get to that. So good call.
I waited.
Good call. Yeah. Back on track.
Carry on.
They're still traveling, and we bring up Dina's first kill.
Yeah, really fucked up.
Yes. Because
different story than you got in the game.
Yes. Because we found out, of course, earlier what Ellie's first kill was. And who it was, and how that happened. But Dina starts to tell her story of how a raider broke in to their house, wherever they were staying, shelter, whatever you want to call it, and killed her mom and her sister.
Yeah.
And she went for revenge, and she killed the raider, and that was her first kill ever.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, killed the raider in the house.
Yeah, which...
And because she's explaining this story.
Yeah.
And this is also kind of to Shotty's point that they're kind of making it seem like the revenge plot almost is on the back burner. Like, I get like those points right there. It makes a lot of sense that that's kind of where they went, but there's also other aspects to where it's fucking there.
Yeah.
But it's after she freaks out because Dina has morning sickness after they see the bodies.
Yeah.
Or she throws up, technically.
Right.
I don't know. At this point, it's just the smell. I mean, I'd probably puke to a pile of rotting corpses.
Probably gross.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
But she has this epiphany like, oh my God, you're pregnant. What am I doing? Why am I doing this? Why are you here? You are pregnant. I will bring you back out. But this is where the revenge plot still is there. She's caring about Dina. I will bring you back. But then she says, and I will do this alone. And I will come back and do it myself.
Yeah.
I think it doesn't hit as hard, though, personally, in the way that, like, I was looking at the scenes in the game, and it's like when Ellie finds out about Dina being pregnant, it's more of like it's
a betrayal.
It's a betrayal. It's an annoyance.
Yeah,
it's like oh my God, I wouldn't have ever asked you.
Yeah,
like and that's like the thing of like it's. I think
we would have turned
again,
back how far, like, because I think the whole rant was, we're kind of backtracking a little bit, guys. Sorry.
Yeah, that's fine.
But she goes, how long ago did you find out? Where were we at 2 weeks ago?
Right.
You could have turned around. She's like, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to be an inconvenience. Well, now you fucking are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was Ellie's words to Dina. She was mad.
Called her a burden straight up.
A burden. Thank you. I'm sorry I'm such a burden. Well, you are.
Yeah. And that's why I think that it just doesn't hit as well, because it's like Ellie is in the process of becoming what Abby is, and this murderous machine. Yeah. I think the other thing with the Dina thing, and then I will let you go. I swear.
No, you're good. You're good.
But the other thing with the Dina thing, it's like, okay, well, she got her revenge, and now she still wants it. So how are we going to commiserate that later on when she's like gives up the revenge? You know what I mean? Like, I feel like she's already done that. She's already like, did it bring her daughter, her sister or mother back? No. And I think that's the logical conclusion that you come to at the end of Last of Us Part 2 at the game. It's just like, oh, revenge bad. And I think that it kind of like, if you force Dina to be the leader of the revenge plot, it really doesn't make so much more sense. And again, I say this not knowing where they're going. I'm willing to be proven different, but I feel like how do you do that different?
I think the way they geared up this episode and how they tracked it along with the timeline of how everything went down. We're going to be exactly where we are in the game soon.
Yeah,
because there's some people out there that we'll talk about here in a little bit.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I find it hard to, again, like what they've done with Tommy. If we're just gonna get Tommy in the next episode, like not the next episode, obviously, it seems like this next episode is gonna be a flashback.
Yeah.
But like if we're gonna get Tommy in Seattle, we're gonna need a damn good reason at this point, because it doesn't make it makes everything that they set up feel like it has no meaning rather than just being different, which is a lot of what I have problems with this season.
Yeah, I think we're getting like I think a lot of things are going to turn to.
I don't want to be proven wrong.
A lot of people like with your same exact opinion, because I've read it all. I've seen a lot of the comments on it. I think that's going to turn to your guys' favor, though.
I hope so. I truly do.
They're plotting things out very specifically, and this is a major talking point that I want to get into when we get to that point. But the fact that I was bringing up with Ellie, I think it was, with the relationship with Dina and how she reacted, why she did. So in the game, they are an existing relationship.
Right.
Already existing, already bonded together in love, doing what they're doing.
Right.
In the game, we're not getting that.
In the show, even?
Yeah, I'm sorry. In the show, we're not getting that.
Yeah.
And it was a very elongated out process to get to the point where eventually we knew where they were going to be.
Right.
But it's brand new. She doesn't want to. She finally has Dina. She has her.
Right.
She does not want to fuck it up. And I think they're playing that aspect a little bit more to this. That's a new love.
Yeah.
I think that takes her revenge plot down for me, at least right where we are right now. Like I said, that's the problem with reviewing episode by episode, is that you don't have the full story. And even like at the end of the season, we won't really have the full story.
Right.
But I feel like there are things that I think contextually make more sense, like in a realistic sense, but I don't think it makes narrative sense. Like I think like the relationship, I think itself makes more sense of how they got into it.
Yeah,
I don't necessarily think that lends to the narrative of it, where she's like, okay, you're coming with me, like, and what you're saying, Ballistic, to be like a surrogate for Ellie, you know, like I feel like it just feels weird to me. It does.
It's hard to break the game from the show. It's so goddamn hard.
Yeah,
I had to do this. Like the reason why I'm a little bit more prepped is from doing the podcast last season. I had to separate the show from the game. I learned that very early on. Yeah. Episode 3 is why I had to do it.
Bill and Ted, right?
Because they went Bill and Frank, not Ted.
We did it again.
No, that's what he said last week. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
So Bill and Frank had me. All right, this isn't in the game at all. What the hell do I talk about?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going into it a little bit better this season that way.
I love. The thing is, I think I really liked what they did with the first season, because every single episode, like they followed it enough to where you got the beats, and they still felt when they hit.
Yeah.
But at the same time, they were able to expand upon what came into.
I think it'd be a lot of
like the Sam and Henry stuff. I think like changing Sam to be deaf, I think is also great. Like kind of like adding that little bit,
that especially whole so much sadder.
Exactly. Like I think that there's little things that or Bill and Frank. I think the change that they did where Bill is dead when you get to Bill's town.
Bill's already.
I think it's an incredible change, and but you still have that story, that baseline story following through, and I think that you can change that, and I think it's a great supplemental material to the game.
Absolutely.
Like I don't think you have to adapt anything in a full one-to-one way. In fact, I think you shouldn't adapt it one-to-one way. But the way they're doing it this season feels like, okay, we're gonna put this here and this there, and we're just gonna scramble the scenes without actually having the follow through of what that means, right? Like,
okay.
I think they're having a little bit tougher time doing it this season, is because game 1 was such a short game in retrospect.
Like it was very straightforward too.
Like it's so beloved.
It was straight. It was a very linear game. It was it was 8 hours long, I think, if you played it through and through. In comparison, yes, Last of Us Part 2 is a semi-linear game.
Right. But it's longer. But then you have more seasons too, right?
Absolutely.
I don't know if they spread it across 3 seasons. I think they are going. I think that's. I think they're doing it in 2 seasons though.
They're at least. I mean, obviously they're at least
by how they're doing.
At least 2.
Yeah.
Well, no, like minimum. But I think I think they're stopping at 2 seasons.
You think so?
Yeah.
The way the timing is, the way they're kind of jumbling things together.
You're right.
And the way I think how we're going to end now. I'm been way off the entire time I've been talking about this, but I still think we're going. Because the problem with the timeline with me right now is, and we'll get back to the notes and the episodes, but it's during the game, the parallel with Abby is day 1, day 2, day 3.
Right.
What is Abby doing right now?
Right.
My brain, going straight to the game, is Abby's doing shit in Seattle this entire time as well.
Right.
It was for the game. She's going to try to find Owen, talk to Manny, or find Lev and Yara, all during the same time frame. So what are we doing?
Which I think that's the next season, right?
Yeah,
like I think that's definitely the parallel. There.
If it's that way, then though, is the grand finale going to be a season 3? You know what I mean?
I just don't think you can do it in
that's a lot
3.
of stretching, I think.
And I think at the same time, like, you think about the fact that Last of Us was the show, like, at least season 1 was the show, like, the Game of Thrones for HBO at that time, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's they're willing to throw money at that because it was a moneymaker for them. If you have carte blanche to do whatever you want, why not split it up and let us sit with the characters and let us truly feel things out in that way. And I think what the problem is you have everybody pretty much across the board, everybody at least enjoys Last of Us Part 2, obviously, or Last of Us Part 1. Obviously, like, you have some people who don't, and that's fine, like, obviously. But like, it's a pretty much more beloved game than 2, I would say.
It is,
absolutely.
And I think because you have such a divisive had such a divisive reaction to Part 2, I think what they're doing is overcorrecting. So I think that they're changing things that don't necessarily need to be changed, and then on top of that, like, thematically, just to again soften this blow. And it feels like my biggest thing is like softening the blow of the revenge story. It should feel like it's painful to watch your protagonist become this person. You know, like, I think Ellie is just not, like, we are still, but like you said it, I think you said it, Ballistic, where we like Joel even with his actions that he's done, right? And I think like that's what we come to find in Part 2 is that we like Ellie, but she's doing some fucked up shit. And I don't think you necessarily get I think you get that in this episode, but I don't think you get that until a certain point. And then when you get to that certain point, it doesn't feel earned because it feels like a switch rather than, oh, I've led up to this moment.
Yeah. I gotta agree. Yeah.
So that's kind of where I'm coming from. And I think, and I get it as like a trauma response for someone like Druckmann or like anybody, I guess anybody who worked on here, truly, that it's like, okay, how do we make sure that this doesn't happen, like the death threats don't happen and stuff like that. And I agree, like, that shouldn't happen, like, that just shouldn't happen.
I hate when people make the actors the goddamn characters.
It's not that. And on top of that, like, not just the actors but the creators, it is a piece of media. Like, I don't like this season. Like, I'm not a huge fan of this season, but I'm not gonna go death threat anybody. I'm just like, I enjoy the game. Like, that's that, and I have that. You know, I think it's the whole conversation of like, well, this one ruined my childhood. I love the Toy Story franchise. I really don't like Toy Story 4. I think it's a terrible continuation of it. But like, I'm not out there being like, so now that ruined my childhood, and I can't look at the you know, the other things the same. It's like, the media is still there, but I think what they're doing by softening this blow in order to make people, I guess, pleased, you know, of that sort of way, you're not getting the same effect, right? And they want to make sure, like, oh, you know, every single plot point, you know who the Seraphites are, you know who the WLF is. When you don't in the game, and I think that in the game, it makes it more terrifying. You know, one of the reasons that they don't expand on like Yoda is a little bit different, but like Yoda's or the Joker's lore is the fact that it's more terrifying to not truly know and have an unreliable narrator, right? So I think like that's what sucks in this adaptation, is that it just you feel like, oh, I know these people, like, you know, and I know, like, I've read a whole Wikipedia article like in the show. Like, it feels like they're expounding upon it that way rather than actually feeling it, and you're like, oh, you come across them. You know, I think like if you didn't hear about the Seraphites up until a certain point in this episode, I think it would hit harder because like, holy fuck, what's going on here? You know, and like the little environmental hints why I think games do things really, really well is like it having a little environmental hits rather than this is who the people are, this is what you should feel about them. And I feel like that's kind of what I'm being directed towards in this show.
Okay. Yeah.
So
speaking of the show,
let's get back.
Let's talk about that again, shall we? Program. Yeah, we have a lot to cover. We're 45 minutes in already, so let's focus up a little bit. All right, where do we even go? Right. Okay. So
Dina.
Yes, we had Dina tell us the story of her first kill.
Like, I just want to say, but I swear this is the last thing I'll say about this. I love cinematically, the shots, how close up and the light hitting each of their eyes. I thought it was a great touch. I will say that. I thought that was a great touch. It makes you feel that scene more, I feel.
Yeah.
Oh, the fucking
Absolutely.
look.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. So
Carry on.
We're gonna skip a little bit because we are so behind. We have like more than half the episode to cover still. So we gotta move on. So we talk about her first kill as a raider. Great, cool, fantastic, traumatic, incredible. And they continue to have this conversation, and Dina essentially asks, "Do you want me to come or not?" Because she will stay or she'll go. Whatever.
I'll go back if you want. I'll go on if you want.
There you go. Yes. And of course, Ellie says, "I want you to come. I want you to stay with me." That's your girlfriend. Of course you want her to come, right? And it's cute, and they're gay, and it's great.
I was like, I know Artie's gonna take a second there. Yeah.
Yay for gayness.
And I even wrote down a quote.
Can I put a
here.
comment in before the comment section happens? Just be like, just do the quote. Artie 2025.
Oh my god.
It's a girlfriend. Of course you want to make her go. All right.
Stop. We have so much.
Continue.
The notes.
The notes.
The notes. Come on. Speaking of quotes, I do have one written down from the actual episode saying, "You're crazy. That's why I love you."
Yeah.
And that was really cute.
Yeah.
First time she said it.
First time they said "I love you." It was
in her
very
face.
Cute.
You love me?
Yeah, you love me. I was like the thing back.
Yeah, it was cute. It was cute.
It also feels like teenage love, right? Like it feels like
very new.
Me, and it's new. Yeah.
Yeah,
very
absolutely. So we reach this warehouse where we find out that there are no soldiers. It is unprotected, and we quickly find out why. Because it is full of stalkers. Like,
not one, not two, 5 or more.
I believe they said at least 11 were in there.
Yeah. Oh, at least 11
in the BTS.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Probably could have been more. I have no idea.
Still, you don't want to be in there with fucking one.
No.
Think about it this way: Ellie still lost that fight with one stalker.
Yep.
If she was anybody but her, she would have been turned.
Absolutely.
Well, and Ballistic, I think they say in the behind the scenes, Craig Mason says to the fact of like she can be bit, and also
not torn apart.
Not torn apart. Yep. Yeah.
No, she's not. She's not immune to death.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
So I thought that was really interesting.
Yeah. So they get surrounded and they get fucked up, basically. Yeah. Ellie has Dina go in this little like. It's not a cage, but it's a cage-like thing, structure, whatever.
For a generator, yeah.
Yeah. And they are quickly overwhelmed. And then we see this silhouette of a person who turns out to be Jesse, coming to the rescue.
He's pissed.
He is pissed. And also, I like what they did with that scene because, as they said in the BTS, that silhouette is meant to represent Joel. And I think they did a solid job.
Do you think so?
Do you not?
I don't. I was like, well, of course that's not. First off, I mean,
we know it's not Joel, but like it's the idea of like.
I think the feeling wasn't. Yeah, the feeling itself didn't make me feel like it was Joel. It made like, even though I get it, like you could have done it in a way like she was hazy and it's like hazes into Joel.
Yeah.
But like I never got that feeling of like this is somebody who's coming to protect me. You know, I feel more of like actually how they go throughout the episode. Not to say that, even though I know it's Jesse, or it could have been Tommy even, but like I felt more of like the rivalry than anything, if that makes sense. Like it's just like another person coming to save her, especially because you have the WLF there, and you have like just people trying to get people out of there. And as a viewer of the show, rather than, you know, like a person and separating from the game, I think that, you know, who knows who's out here at this point. You know, it might be, we know it's just the Seraphites and the WLF. There could be anybody. There could be a resistance out here, like willing to protect people. Like there could be a bunch of different things. So I like the feeling was not there for me.
Okay,
I'll say.
Interesting. Yeah, that's fine.
I think they did great. Just like editorially, like the way they. I mean, again, they did the whole "hey, look it," the way they edited it in, very, very traditional way of someone's haze. They see someone that just died. It's done across all shows and movies,
Yeah.
So I knew what they were going for, and I did think they did a decent job at that. Yeah. But again, knowing who the hell that is, does take away from it.
I do wonder. Like,
I agree with you on that one.
I do wonder, like, if I didn't know, like, would I have?
I think you would have.
I still don't feel like. I don't know. I just don't feel like I would have felt it that way. I think, like, if you do this in a way of like, I can see it in a way of what they wanted to do, of like these constant. This is the episode where it's constant reminders of Joel, but I think they do it kind of sloppily, where it's just like the feeling just isn't there for me. And if she would have harped on Joel in that way, I think this is the episode. That's the thing where you like show don't tell,
right?
Rather than like her having these visions of Joel, and we'll get to it at the end. But why I didn't exactly resonate with the end either.
But a very interesting dynamic switch happened before they got overran with stalkers. So if you notice throughout this whole trip, it's been Dina leading the way. Dina plotting the map, Dina telling them this is where we're going, this is what we got to do. That switches. That 180s in that warehouse. Because what does Ellie do? She does what she's going to do best, and that is violence. Ellie is very good at violence, extremely good. This is what she does. It's that parallel, that side by side with Joel. Joel's also very good at violence. But as she says to Dina, go in that cage and I'll draw them away. You can't get bit. I can get bit a lot. And that's her taking the charge and going into a role that Joel would have given Ellie. Because Joel was the protector. He was very good at violence. He was very good at that. And Ellie was not at that point. So this is, I think, is where Ellie's kind of turning into Joel, because its interesting aspect is Joel also failed a lot. He failed to protect Ellie numerous times. And what happens? Ellie fails to protect Dina. He is kind of in Joel's shoes at this point and kind of affirming that she is who he is. And I think it's done very well here. That's why I love this fucking episode.
I think in that aspect, though, what at least this season, maybe you can make a case for last season, and we've just had more time with Ellie, with that. But like, what has she done that's been more violent than Dina? Like Dina just like, I think that scene, it feels really sloppy coming right after her talking about, and I killed him and I want to be on this mission, you know, like I killed that raider and I want to be on this mission because I want what you want. I want revenge, and having her be the leader of this revenge plot.
Well, I think that was more so of just a reassurance. Like,
I agree,
reassuring her that it is okay.
It's the
Keep
same.
Going. Don't give up because of me.
Right.
Yeah, it's the same thing that I don't like how they're portraying Abby as well, because it
We don't
feels
know
like
how they're going to portray her. We really don't know.
Well, at least just how they've portrayed her so far. Like it feels like Ellie and Abby are much more paralleled to each other in, like a fighting sense and like a thematic sense. And I think that making Dina the revenge leader takes away her, like the soft side of her, because like I think that it's important for Dina to be kind of the voice of reason. And it doesn't seem to me like you can't have your cake and eat it too and be like, oh, well, Dina's this way in the game, right? Like Dina is the person who is like the non-violent, and I do agree with you there. But at this point, we've seen the violence come from Dina just as much as we've seen from Ellie.
We've seen more physical violence from Ellie. I think more physical.
In this, do you think in this season though?
Yes, because we see her hand-to-hand combat training twice.
That is true.
Honing in her skills to be more violent than she is now.
I guess, but I think like the words that Dina carries with what I'm talking about the Raiders feel like she's much more parallel to Ellie in that way of the violence cycle. And I think like, again, I think that's why it's so hard for me to commiserate in those direct two scenes, because at this point I'm just seeing two violent people. It doesn't matter if they're more violent or less violent.
Right.
Like I'm not seeing somebody who is like takes charge in a like they talk about. I think they do talk about in the behind the scenes, where it's just like Dina is the more logistics person. Like Dina is talking about like the principle of things and what we should do and like planning stuff out, whereas Ellie is there to be violent and the powerhouse, you know, to take out things.
Yeah.
I just don't feel that here, because we are looking at two violent people rather than two sides of that coin of like a team. You don't necessarily need 7 Iron Mans, right? Like you need that team of people that are a little bit like diverse in their planning. That you have the every heist movie have like a strategist. You need like the muscle. You need the brain. Like you need like all these different things. And I think like that's what they're trying to portray in that moment. But I think it doesn't land for me when you're making both these characters equally seeking out revenge. Like I like in the game how, again, not trying to compare it, but just I wanted to say like in the game how they split apart that dynamic because it gives Dina something to question rather than Ellie something to question. Ellie, without question, is going on this journey.
Yeah.
And I think that they're trying to have their cake and eat it too with the thematic energy of it. And you can't separate yourself from the game and then use the game what the feelings in the game to reinforce what you're trying to tell if that's not present in the show.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Again, I won't go on many other tangents. Just I wanted to
Well, we're at least getting somewhere, you know.
Also, VFX in this shot, fucking awesome.
Yeah.
I'll say like the choreography that they had for the stalkers. Incredible. Them pulling off the fucking rails, so good.
Freaky little
like the VFX are far and away the best part of this scene.
Very good, very good, very good.
Yeah. So yeah, Jesse's there, saves their ass. And he also reveals that Tommy is also with him. They're just not together.
Yeah.
At this point in time.
I think we're gonna get revenge, Tommy.
I think there is possibility for it. Yeah, perhaps. Yeah. Of course, because they start shooting at these stalkers in this warehouse, all of these soldiers are alerted that they are there now.
Yes.
And they have to fucking book it. So, where do they go? This park that none of them want to go in. Good sign, right?
Why though? Why?
Great sign.
Because that was the big area that was not guarded that Dina brought up.
Yes. Well, we find out why. Very quickly.
And a nice little 1-for-1. gruesome one.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Like Mortal Kombat fatality, where they're like, just like bringing you.
Yeah. So we have this park where we see the Scars just hanging this dude, taking this big what is it, like a scythe or whatever?
It's a scythe.
Yeah, just full on right down the torso.
Yeah,
I'm okay about this.
Outspills everything. Just
little sickle moment.
Yeah, you could say that.
Mm-hmm.
Gruesome, absolutely gruesome, and it was tough. It was a tough watch.
Mm-hmm.
And of course,
that was because they stick it in him.
Yep.
And then they raise him.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Nice
little pulley system. Yep.
Oh.
Again, shout out to the VFX people in the makeup department, because holy shit, like not only does that moment hit, but also like the scar, like getting the scars to look very
they look amazing.
worn,
they look
great.
You know? Yeah, absolutely.
They've been there for a while. They're not just bright red marks. They've been there for a while.
Those are scars. Yeah.
Also, location scouting. I believe they said that this was a park in Vancouver.
Yes.
And it, holy shit, like what a beautiful location.
Same with the warehouse. The warehouse too that they were in.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, shout out to the location scouts. Shout out to the crew of this show.
Yeah.
I'll say they're
killing
it.
Just killing it. So we see this big execution. It is gruesome. It is brutal. It is kind of what sets the tone for The Last of Us Part 2.
Yep.
Because it is a gruesome, brutal story.
Oh yeah.
Hands down. And basically, after that happens, they're spotted. Ellie, Dina, and Jesse, they get spotted.
They hear those fucking whistles.
Uh-huh.
Hated those things.
Yeah.
Hated the fucking whistles in the game.
But they get caught, they get spotted, whatever. And Dina gets fucking shot in the knee.
Yeah. I like how silent it was, though. There was no... Yeah. And this just shows you how primitive these people are in their way they hunt and stalk almost.
Yes.
Very animalistic, very quiet.
Yeah.
And I like the aspect that they didn't get shot at with guns. It was something silent and then boom.
Bows and arrows, yep. And I think it was Mason that said this in the BTS. But he said that scars celebrate violence. Which is super interesting.
Because violence is how they that's how they save. So everybody that gets hung and de-gutted is what they're doing is, and they say this is, they are saving them.
Yeah.
They are saving them in violence and this sacrifice almost that they are saved. Which is why, like, going back a couple episodes or last episode, when we have Isaac interrogating that guy, no wolves come to be scars. Or no, they have wolves that come to be scars and no scars going to be wolves. Right. But how many of those wolves are actually turning into scars and aren't just getting saved?
Yeah.
So that shows like what kind of truth is there with the WLF going that are leaving them to be Seraphites.
Yeah.
Or is that just them saying we saved them?
What I think in some ways too, it is the manifestation of the Seraphites being the celebration of violence in a very direct way, where you could say the same about the WLF in the indirect way of like the one character that we had from the rookie, I'm just going to call him the rookie character, saying like they got what they fucking deserve. Is that not the same thing? You know, is that not also celebrating violence, even in a very indirect way?
Yeah, it's all the same thing, just different ways of doing it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Even the revenge side between Abby and Ellie, and the same thing, just different paths.
And we can excuse in the way of like how we excuse violence in the way of like, oh, you will, some people wouldn't say that the WLF are celebrating violence because they're trying to get by, when it's really not what's happening, you know, like they're also cultivating the cycle, and so seeing where that goes is interesting, especially making what seems like to making Isaac more violent himself, and that kind of rippling down to the soldiers themselves, and then Fedra by approximation of that even.
Yeah. Yeah. So Dana gets shot. Her and Jesse go back to the theater. Now Ellie is there by herself.
I will meet you back there.
Yes. And
for
what I believe is the first time, we see these WLF dogs.
Puppies.
That we are very familiar with from the game.
Yeah. I hated that they made me kill the puppies.
Because they are mean as shit.
Well, technically, they don't make you kill them. You just have to get by them.
I was so shit at
They're
stuff.
tough to evade. They're tough to evade. Yeah. So we see them, and Ellie kind of just hides in a bush, and the dog just like, it's nothing.
I like how they made it like a little more realistic. She went into the hole.
Yeah.
Dog's like, I can't get in there safe. Like they made it a little bit more realistic instead of the dog just blindlessly chasing you.
I do like the little gameplay nod there, where it's just like you see like the little
shimmy
and
too.
Yeah. So I like stuff like that where it's just like a little nod, you know, but it's not like a narrative. Like, you ain't remember this, you know, like
just little. All right, got you.
Yeah,
got you, gamers.
Yeah, it was a fun little nod because I know I've hidden in the grass a lot.
It was a big talking point. I was gonna say standing point, but it was a big talking point. You know, before release was the fact that you can prone, so it's like interesting to see that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, hey.
Yeah. So we see all that, and then we get into the really meaty part of the episode.
Yeah, really meaty.
Yes.
Yeah.
Where Ellie finds Nora in this hospital. Which causes a lot of problems, you could say. Because they come face to face, and Nora is screaming, intruder, 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 and everything goes haywire. Because there's an intruder. Obviously, that's duh. And Nora finds herself running and jumping down this elevator shaft. Which goes down to level B2, of course. Which was previously completely closed off.
I like the fact that they do it in a way, even though we kind of know that there's stuff in the hospital.
Yeah.
But if you're not paying attention, like I like the fact that they're like, instead of the soldiers going after them, they say something like, "Oh, close the door off. They open the door. They open the elevator." You know, like it's like, "Oh, what the fuck is in there?"
Get the fuck out of there. Yeah.
Sorry. I just want to say I like how they did the 1-to-1 dialogue with Nora.
Yeah. I agree.
All leading down to what inevitably starts the chase. He got what he fucking deserved. The little bitch got what he deserved.
Yep.
And that's what started this chase. That leads to one of my favorite scenes coming up. My God, it's so good.
We're getting there.
Oh.
So Nora goes on his elevator shaft. Naturally, Ellie follows.
Yep.
And this is where we really get kind of the first look into this basement and what is actually down there, which is terrifying.
Again,
I love.
Shout out to the set designers, shout out to the crew.
Yes,
it looks fucking incredible.
Great. Yes,
I love how they did it too. I love it that the spores weren't just there.
Yes,
they were there being fucking breathed out.
Yeah. So one of the first things that we see, is this person, creature, whatever you want to call it, is just absolutely encapsulated by cordyceps.
Yep.
And it is still alive.
Yeah.
It's very much still alive. and you see Ellie approach, and it's just like this fine mist of spores just expelling.
And you could hear the gaspiness in the breaths being taken.
Yeah, absolutely.
And now that we brought up spores, I want to ask a question because I think I noticed something that I don't think I have noticed in the intro.
Okay.
Was there always spore particulates in the intro? Because I swear to God, I saw them.
That's interesting.
During this
I have
episode.
no idea.
I'm going to have to look back at that. Guys, correct me if I'm wrong, please. Let me know.
Yeah, let's know in the comments below. Like and subscribe while you're at it.
Hey.
Yeah.
You gotta say it. You gotta say it. You gotta say it.
Yeah.
But because I started noticing, I'm like, was that always there? Because I noticed little speckles.
Good point.
It's kind of floating in the air in the intro. So was that another little ad that they did?
Yeah.
Like the takeaway they did?
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that they're like adding stuff to the title.
I know,
cards.
it's fucking amazing. I love it.
Absolutely.
And it makes you think about I no longer will ever miss a intro like I accidentally did.
Yep.
When they took out,
again, shout out to the crew. Shout out to the people who make the intro.
Yeah.
Like that was a very informed decision. Like these things are definitely they're made by a committee. You know, like they're definitely made by it's like it's easy to forget about that. So it's been really cool in this season to see them have the VFX on the behind the scenes and that be just as important as the narrative elements.
Now, do we see Leon down there?
That's what I was trying to figure out. Is like is one of them Leon?
They zoomed in on one particular infected.
I think it's implied.
It's implied
that is Leon.
I think that it's implied that way. Do the spores infect you differently? Because he would have never been a runner. That wasn't that long ago that between him being down there to Ellie going down there with Nora. It wasn't that long.
I think that
like, are they only made to do that?
Yeah, I think they are. I think it goes back to cordyceps cordyceps in the real life, right?
Yeah.
Of infecting ants and then the fungi being cast out.
Yeah.
And I think that reflects that same thing.
They're kind of giving a little nod to the real thing almost.
Yeah, like it's how cordyceps work in the real world because you're like if you infect an ant, it spreads the spores. Yeah, it spreads the spores to other ants, so they get infected as well, and that's exactly how that works in real life too. And that's really cool to kind of retroactively make that how that works.
Yeah, my only thing was, is that all the spores do to you though? Do they not infect? Because technically the infection started by someone ingesting it, not breathing it, ingesting it.
Yeah.
I think that.
I wonder if it's a different turn.
Yeah, I think it is a different turn because they do make mention, I think at the beginning, where they say it's airborne. Like they are like, oh shit, now it's airborne. So they do feel surprised by that. So I think it is a new way of the infection. Or at least a relatively new way in the infection. But I think less so that they're infected in the I'm gonna come after you sort of sense, and more infected as like, oh, I'm being used as an apparatus for this device, or like you're being merged with something, and it's using your body to produce
foreshadowing.
So yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I think it's a different version of that infection, and again, it shows it does make it compatible with the way they're talking about the infected evolving.
Right. Okay.
And being different. I think it adds to the world, and eventually I think it will lead more credence to the Rat King.
Okay.
And being like
crazy.
Yeah.
That's gonna be crazy soon. Fuck, dude. I'm ready for it though.
Although I know we can't do this to our main characters, but I do want to see one of them just rip open someone.
Yeah. Oh god. Right at the jaw. Hell yeah.
Yeah.
You kind of had that in the first season.
Yeah, I guess a little bit with the bloater.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean.
But I want to see more with the Rat King though.
Dude, that thing fucked me up for hours.
Yeah.
That thing sucks. That's such a bad fight.
That thing sucks. God. Anyways, we are nearing the end of the episode at this point.
Yeah.
We're getting there. We're getting somewhere. So we see the spores. It is very well done. I think how it's presented and just the entire basement. It looks amazing. And we finally get to this nice little red hallway that we all know very well.
The ambiance, I love it.
Yeah.
I love what red does to a scene.
Yeah.
Oh.
And of course, we find Nora on the floor, struggling to breathe.
Yep.
She is now infected because she is breathing in the spores. Yeah. She made a rash decision to go in the basement, and it's gonna kill her.
Bitch got what she deserved. Karma.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, you notice in that, I just want to say, you notice that she is backed up against the wall, right? Yeah. And the fact that they never become runners, they just merge with the wall.
Yeah, they're just
yeah.
You know,
that is kind of
an
interesting
I wonder if that's
actually.
Part of the infection where they like unconsciously move close to the wall so that they can grow more mushrooms.
I wonder if it's kind of like a paranoia thing where they're just kind of like afraid of everything and they're just like, whoa, just overly cautious. Could be.
That's
interesting. Interesting. Very interesting.
Yeah, now I want to think about that tonight.
Yeah. Yeah. So, Ellie and Nora have this discussion as Nora is dying on the floor, basically.
Yep.
And, of course, it's like, where's Abby? Where's Abby? Tell me what you know.
All that matters.
Yeah. And Nora brings up the point of, do you know what Joel did? And she says, yes.
Yeah.
She knows exactly what he did. And at this point in time, she doesn't care.
Right.
She doesn't care at all. Obviously, as we saw before, it was a big deal to her. But in this exact point in time, doesn't matter.
Right.
I think here is where we see the peak of Ellie's character.
Absolutely.
Right here is where she is Joel.
Yes.
There is nothing else there.
And a really good I guess it was just a lighting thing. Was that in this red tunnel, you see Bella Ramsey's eyes, they're almost black.
Yeah.
Which was just incredible because it was that switch that it's oh.
Yeah, that's why I said earlier, the revenge is there.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's not seated away. It may seem like it because you're not physically playing as this character, killing everything you see, which is what we all did. I know I fucking did. Everything you see, you kill. You know what Ellie is. You know what she's going to do.
Right.
They can't, because they're kind of going with more of a realism aspect here in the way they're doing the show, because just it makes more sense just making it more real with real people. And they do this with a lot of real life adaptations to shows and whatever.
Right. Well, I think here also kind of what we see is she has these big revenge points with the people who were there.
Yeah.
She's not angry at everyone.
It's more linearly focused than you are in the game because you're not. They have to make a game. You can't just walk through
Yeah, it's game. Game's last. There's different aspects, right?
Yeah. And I think that's where a lot of people, again, you've brought up, Shotty, to where it's throwing you off this revenge plot that you don't think she has anymore, or it's very under the ground.
Yeah.
Well, I think they have to do it that way because they have no empty space to make. They can't make extra space for you to see the violence and the gruesomeness that Ellie has.
Right.
I would say that they do
that. Realistically, I don't think they can.
I would say that they do have that at that time because they do have time to voice those moments of stalkers, and not say that you didn't need the stalkers, but you could these fuckers, and then the WLF when they run into the WLF, I think that's another thing where it's just she hesitates, and I think for me it feels more, and not to say that this is totally lessened, because you could make an argument that the switch does finally flip when she's like, oh yeah, I remember why I'm here. But
Yeah.
that's what it feels like to me. It feels like I remember why I'm here, rather than this is what I've been after the entire time, which is what it feels like in the game and what it thematically should feel like. I think otherwise you lose the entirety of the plot. I think the other thing I wanted to make mention of is the fact that what's interesting the wording here is the fact that you're her, you're the girl they talked about. And it's interesting that they don't know who she is. Like even before
they had no idea
before the meeting of Joel dying, you know, where they're like, oh, they just think this is someone else from Jackson. So it's interesting to me, like, oh, like you were her, like you were hurt by this too, you know, and so I do like that a little bit. But yeah, I just feel like the whole revenge switch is unearned. Again, it feels like you're playing to, for the people who play the game, you're playing to what we've experienced in the game, in that adaptation, or in none of that, the original. Like they're like, oh, you remember this part, like remember when you were that, and without the buildup of it in the show,
right?
I feel like you get the I'm gonna fucking kill you all, and it feels like that there's that meme that's I can't remember who it is, but anyways, it's like, why am I here? Oh, right, the murders. Like that's kind of how it feels to me. It feels like, oh yeah, I got to go through with this, rather than, no, I was always gonna do this, you know. Like, and I do like to your point, she does say some things that lead to that, like the little thing of, oh, you can go back and I can keep going, but I feel like that's more of like a, oh, it still leads to the, am I gonna do this? And I think Dina should be the one to have the, are we gonna go through with this really? Because if you make Dina the violent point, it takes away from Ellie's journey of like unconditional revenge. And then when you get to points like this, it feels like, oh, this is why I'm here, rather than, oh, like I was always gonna do this.
Right.
For me.
Okay. Yeah. All right.
That's basically what I felt. And then I don't. Do we want to talk about how they ended it? Like fully ended it?
Yeah, we're getting there.
What I just wanted to say is, would have been a great place to put Future Days. What did I tell y'all? They were gonna.
We're not there yet.
But we were gonna juxtapose.
Just calm down.
Yeah. We're almost there.
Let's finish this first. Okay. Yeah. Let's finish this first, where Ellie does not get the answer she wants out of Nora. Right?
Yeah.
No.
So she finds this metal pipe.
Yeah.
Lying on the floor. And in my notes, all I wrote down is Ellie beats the fuck out of Nora.
Yeah.
And notice something interesting. She's not hitting her in her body.
No.
What is she hitting? Her legs.
Yep.
Most pain you could possibly give somebody. They're not going to pass out from that.
You're not gonna get away. Yeah.
Yep.
And here's the other parallel. What did Abby do to Joel?
Shot him right in the knee.
Legs.
She, after that, she shot him in the knee, but also with the golf club, hit him in the knee.
Yeah.
You're seeing interesting parallels that they're not there. They're there to cause as much harm and pain as they can.
Yeah.
Right.
It's very something important to take away as we go into this season. As we kind of round off the season, I should say.
Yeah, it's almost over. Only 2 more episodes. Crazy.
Yep.
Just started. It's weird. Anyways, so Ellie beats the fuck out of Nora. Screen goes to black. We are greeted with a sleeping Ellie, who wakes up, and then in the doorway is Joel in the dad stance going, "Hey kiddo."
Hey kiddo.
And the episode ends.
So what did I tell you?
After you get the very high.
Yeah.
Like she's like, you're back in a place and time frame to where Joel is her everything.
Yeah.
Well, and it feels like a dream, right? Like it's
absolutely.
so bright out, right?
Oh my God, they did that lighting phenomenally there. Like you're going back.
Yeah, it was good.
They did it visually phenomenally again. Good fucking job.
Yeah, I would say like with the camera, the lighting and the cameras and the set, like I think it set it up really well. However, I told y'all that they were gonna pull the shit with the first kill of Nora, and then they were gonna juxtapose it with Joel, and I said that they were gonna do Future Days, and it's not just because I think that they should have done Future Days here, especially if you're gonna tease it at the beginning and then you're not gonna do it at the end, and then you're just gonna. We all know they're doing it. They're doing it next episode. Like that's just gonna happen, but it's just gonna be the opening, and it's just gonna. I don't know. Like
we'll see.
I would have rathered them do the hard cut and then the flashbacks be the next episode, rather than okay, here's the hard cut and then here's a bit of the flashback, because it just feels like, oh, so next episode's gonna be a flashback episode. It just feels so meta, you know, like it just inform you like stay tuned, you know, like in that sort of way, rather than a thematic. Oh, this is what it should feel like.
Yeah.
And again, I think it would round out, especially in this episode, if you're starting with that Future Days and her trying to play it. If you do Future Days at the end of this episode and have that be the end, to where it's like, oh yeah, this does feel like where we're at again, and then it sets you up for the next episode. And then you also don't have to do Future Days in the next episode too, but. I don't know. I want to be proven wrong. I want to feel like I'm proven wrong. But like, man. Also, actually, go. You guys say what you gotta say, and then I'll go.
Okay.
I loved it. I mean, I really like the ending.
Yeah.
Just because I know what I'm getting this next episode. Is one of my favorite things in the game as well are all the sweet flashbacks that you got. One of my favorite being when they go to the museum.
Right.
Yeah.
Which I know we're getting. We saw the clips. You know you're getting it.
Yep.
That of all the flashbacks that we got, that was my favorite.
Yep.
Yeah, the tender moment.
It's cute.
It was
truly
such a heartwarming moment. Because they started that flashback after you start playing his song in the theater in the game.
Right.
Before you go off again.
Yeah.
And at this time, you're going off by yourself because you leave Dini behind. That's whatever.
Yeah.
But that's the flashback that you got. That's one of the very first. That was actually the first big flashback that you got in the game. I believe. Yeah.
I think you're right.
Yeah, something like that.
With Joel after he got killed.
And it's interesting, the most iconic moments are the most tender. Like think about Take On Me and the museum.
Yeah.
It's the lulls and the violence.
Yeah.
And we're getting a whole episode technically of that, at least for the first half. Because if they go with the route I think they're going with the flashbacks, you're going to see some fucking chaos.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know if they're going to add that in there because it'd be kind of pointless because of how meaty they made bloaters. So I don't know if they'll add that. It might be a little. They could leave it out because it wouldn't technically make sense in this timeline.
Yeah,
but yeah, I liked it. I smiled.
That's fair.
Definitely. Just especially just like the innocence of the high build, that there was still an innocence there.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm glad that they did it like in that way.
Moment right there to when we see her interact with Joel, something happened. You're gonna find out next episode what that is.
Yeah.
I am so fucking excited for it. I love it.
Yeah. Are we to our any last things at this point?
Pretty much.
What I wanted to ask you both is this person has been cast in the show. And at this point we only have the 2 episodes left. So logically, if we get this person in the show, it's this next episode. I believe we see what happens to Eugene in this next episode. I think we're not only getting the flashbacks that we know. I think we're also getting what happened to Eugene, especially with setting that up. I
think that'll take place of the bloater.
Yeah, I truly do.
Yeah,
like, I think they're
going with that because that'd be a whole sequence that you could take out.
And I think I think that story is interesting where it could go. That change is the one change that I'm like very much interested to see because it's very unceremonious. Even in the game, they talk about it being like it sucks that he just died of a stroke.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. And I wonder, and the way that they set it up to the wife is like, you killed my
husband.
Yeah.
And it's almost like she knows there's something else behind.
Right. Did Eugene know?
What did Eugene know?
Yeah.
This is going to be another like Bill and Frank moment because
I think so too.
Yeah, definitely.
Frank wasn't a character in the game and they made him a character. They're going to make Eugene a character. It's coming up.
Yeah.
Probably next episode. It's coming next episode. The entire episode's going to be a fucking flashback. Spoiler alert.
Yeah.
Tease that.
If you didn't watch the teaser,
I gotta say, I am not watching any teasers from here on out because I feel like they just, I'm just like, oh yeah, I know sports are gonna like this whole thing. I'm like, oh, I know sports are gonna be in here.
Yeah.
Like I know that. Like it's just, I want to be so surprised.
Right.
Like, I want to get caught up in like I feel like that moment would have hit maybe a little harder for me. Maybe if I didn't have that teaser, or there's a certain moment in that they show in the trailer for the show actually that I'm just like, okay, well, I know that we're gonna hit that point,
right.
You know, so
okay,
yeah.
Much like you, like separating Ballistic, separating from the game, I want to separate from the trailers a little bit more.
Yeah, no, I get that. Yeah,
no, I think that's totally fair.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, I think that's what we have to cover.
Yeah.
Any other comments, concerns, things that we didn't touch on that you think we missed with the episode?
I don't think so. I think we covered fucking everything.
I got something left to cover. Like, comment, subscribe right now. Do it. Take your moment. Take your time. Are you driving? Are you driving? It's okay. Go up to the side of the road. We'll wait for you.
Oh my god.
Then you just go a little comment. Type in first, or type in I love The Last of Us, or type in these guys know what they're talking about, or say these guys don't know what they're talking about. Comment, like, subscribe. It helps the analytics so we can keep the lights on.
Shotty, you know what's funny, and I hate to burst your bubble, is that. Since you started doing the like, comment, subscribe thing, the views have gone down.
Damn. It's like I do it at the end.
So
okay. Don't watch the Last of Us podcast that HBO, big old HBO does. Watch this podcast.
Yeah, this one's cooler. Yeah.
We actually know what we're saying. Okay.
Obviously, yeah. All right. So, as always, we are going to do our little rating system. I believe, Ballistic, you went first yesterday.
Yes, I did.
Last week. So, Shotty, we're going to get your thoughts this time. Take the floor.
We're just going to line it up. Just give it a little putt. We're going to get up in a little putt. Golf joke. We're going to give it a little putt to the C tier again.
Had a feeling. Yeah.
I think it's a very mid C, I would say, for right now. Like, I think I like it better than some of the earlier episodes, but the earlier episodes could move up a lot more if the Eugene stuff hits.
Right.
I think that I was proven very wrong with the last episode, where I'm like, oh, okay, I see where their relationship is going. Yeah. I think that works a little better. So I was able to see the error of my ways there. Obviously, when we end the season, I'll totally place them. I feel like it's a devil's advocate to just put everything in C.
Yeah.
Just stay tuned for the last episode where I rank them all, and I will give them the D.
Yep.
I will give them the A. I will give them the B.
That's crazy.
I'll give them whatever they want, you know.
Okay, Shotty.
Hey, I'll give them the little. Never mind.
I don't know where we're going.
Moving away from
it was the cum thing. It was the cum.
Ballistic, how do you rank the episode?
My favorite. so
really?
far.
Okay.
9.3, not 10.
9.3. That's very
9.3.
specific.
I'm going specific with these.
Okay.
All right.
Okay. That's fine.
Now, my favorite so far, they tied in a lot of questions.
Okay.
They brought in Jesse.
Uh-huh.
Now we know Tommy's in Seattle.
Mm-hmm.
Where is he? We don't know. They split off.
Right.
You're getting your separation from Dina. That's happening. That's going to be a main focus, is the separation, and the probably you might get a little parallel with Ellie and Jesse, because you get that in the game.
Right.
Mm-hmm. But timing of it's a little weird because Ellie and Jesse split off as you're going to the hospital. So I don't know if timing wise it might not happen then. But yeah, they tied in a lot of shit. They put a lot of things together and answered a lot of questions that I had leading up to this. With his Tommy going to Seattle, why would he be going to Seattle? Because technically he still snuck out. He didn't tell wifey fucking name blank wifey that he was leaving. Thank you, Maria. I didn't start with him.
Yep.
I was thinking like Maria, Marlene.
Well, Marlene is last season. Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
But those were the names on through my head, so I didn't talk.
Well, they were both right, kind of. So, yeah.
So he still snuck out.
Yeah.
So we're seeing parallels with the game still. Now everybody that needs to be in Seattle right now is.
Right.
So I'm interested to see where they're going with it. Right now, 9.3.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
And Artie?
I don't know. Honestly, I feel kind of indifferent about it. Like, I didn't hate the episode, but it didn't feel very memorable to me. Like, it wasn't one that I'm like, okay, I remember this happened and this happened, this happened. Like, I had to like read a summary to remember what happened before we started recording, and I was like, okay, right, yeah, I guess that did happen, right, and like, even with the notes, I was still like, what does that mean? What did I write down? What?
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
So I thought the episode was fine. I really liked the basement scene. I thought that was good. I liked the interaction with Nora. I thought that was good. Everything else just felt kind of filler to me.
Okay.
I didn't hate it though. It's not my least favorite episode I've ever seen. So
that's the thing is why I put them all in like C is where they are right now, without knowing where they go with things. Like I separating the adaptation from the games, I think they're just all kind of mid episodes. Like if I was just watching this for the first time and not knowing where we go from here, like I would just be like, oh, this isn't really this isn't really picking me up. So rather than I like, if there's truly an episode that belongs in D tier, I will put it in D tier.
Right.
Like I did last episode where it was the B tier, because I'm like, okay, I see how they're tying things in here.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I might even move that down, like seeing where how they're taking that.
You're right. Sure.
So, but as it stands right now,
okay,
I kind of agree with you where it's just like it's kind of just not hidden. Like it's not terrible, it's just not hitting.
I don't know. Like the retention of the episode just wasn't there for me. And like, I didn't hate it. Like I was interested while I was watching it. Yeah. But coming back to it almost a week later, I'm like,
what happened?
What did happen?
Whereas you remember like certain episodes. Like I feel like I remember certain episodes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, we're two plus years out.
Yeah.
From the season one, I'm like, I remember like Bill and Frank is one of the best episodes of television, period, in my opinion.
Absolutely.
Like the Sam and Henry stuff, like the beginning, like I remember each and every one of those episodes.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Absolutely. Whereas like this season, I'm like, oh yeah, that did happen. Oh, that's the story beat we had. Like,
Well, since taking notes, it's helped to be like, okay, I got this. I think it's I don't know if I need to take better notes or what it is, but like I don't know. I just like I have it all written down and I just can't picture it happening.
Right.
Where I'm just like, okay.
Yeah, nothing's really memorable.
Was it really important if I don't remember it? Like, was it significant enough to remember? I don't know.
Okay.
I didn't hate the episode. Like, I would give it probably like a 7, I think.
Okay.
I don't know. It didn't stick very well for me.
Well, there you go.
But I didn't hate it.
All right. There you go.
There you go. Okay. We did it. We made it to the end. Woo! All right.
Simon, you did it.
We did it. We did it. Yes, we absolutely did. Okay. Well, that is the end of this week's episode. Of course, as always, thank you, Shotty and Ballistic, for joining me. Could not do it without both of you. And if you made it to this point, thank you for watching, because I know we yap a lot. But we have a lot to say. And I think that's pretty evident, because we're an hour and 40 into this recording, and I think we still have a lot to say. So, thanks for watching. Thanks for hanging out. It means a whole lot that you made it to this point. If you did. So, appreciate it, and we will catch you next week. Bye.
On the flip flop. Bye.